welcome to the deep dive. Today we are jumping into this really incredible stack of research.
We really are.
It's a life story that reads less like a biography and, more like a carefully crafted script.
Yeah.
We're deep diving into the extraordinary experiences of a psychic medium named Ted Rice.
Right. And our main source here is the book Masquerade of Angels.
And this isn't just about, ghosts or premonitions. This is about what happens when accepted spiritual guidance. It transforms into something far more intrusive.
Something utterly terrifying.
Exactly.
And that transition is, I think, the heart of our mission today. We're tracing Ted's path from a genuine gifted medium.
Yeah, who really believed in what he was doing.
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
He operated entirely within this framework of benevolent spiritualism.
Yeah.
But then we watch him become a researcher who has to, abandon everything he believed in to confront a really traumatic, non-human reality.
The conflict is so stark.
It is.
Yeah.
When your most trusted guides turn out to be the mask for something else, for
Right.
manipulators.
And what makes Ted Rice just the perfect subject for this exploration is the contrast he presented. If you met him, you'd find this intelligent, warm man with this incredible sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
But he had this uncanny internal mechanism that led him, and this is a quote, peer through the veiled, darkened corridors into an alien netherworld. He lived a life that, in retrospect, felt entirely orchestrated.
That idea of orchestration, that Ted's existence was a blueprint, that's really the necessary starting point.
It's a blueprint.
The sources suggest that almost everything in his life had been shaped by an external force.
Wow.
We're talking where he lived, the specific people he met, the work he did. It's like this external force was just molding him for some unknown purpose.
And nothing illustrates this blueprint better than the Sun Valley incident. It's so specific, it sounds like something out of a prophetic movie script.
It absolutely does. So Ted had this incredibly vivid, recurring dream. In the dream, he saw a yellow Greyhound bus. He saw Basque cowboys herding hundreds of sheep across the road. And he just knew he would find a job at a specific lodge in Sun Valley, Idaho.
So he takes this bizarre, really detailed dream to his college counselor, who basically tells him, look, we're happy to help, but getting a placement in Sun Valley
It's impossible.
right.
Completely impossible. Yet, what happens?
He gets a telegram.
Offering him the exact position he wanted.
The direction was already fixed, and the journey itself, it just confirms the pre-programming. He boards the yellow Greyhound. He's sitting in the exact spot from the dream.
No way.
The bus stops, and there they are, the Basque cowboys on horseback, moving hundreds of sheep across the highway. It's a perfect match.
But the crucial detail, the one that really foreshadows this whole deep dive, happens when he gets to the lodge.
Yes.
The illusion!
The building looks like it's made of this rough, natural redwood. He walks up, scratches his fingernail across the outside, and the redwood just chips away.
And what's underneath?
Poured cement. The very structure of his arrival, the first thing he sees, was an illusion designed to look natural and beautiful.
That moment, it just encapsulates the deception that runs through his entire life. But if the blueprints were external, the idea that they were benevolent starts to fall apart really early on.
Right.
Just look at the incident from his teenage years with his neighbor Jill.
This is the famous angel encounter.
Mm-hmm.
So two hooded beings appear through his wall, and they literally position him and Jill face to face.
And then they make this grand pronouncement.
We have merged your souls. Sounds heavenly, right?
It sounds profound, but the result was anything but. The consequence of this forced merger was that Ted developed an immediate, painful, years-long obsession with Jill.
An obsession that was never returned.
Not at all. It was totally unrequited, causing him immense emotional turmoil until her final, brutal rejection finally shattered the spell.
So if this spiritual guidance was meant to be pure, why was the outcome just psychological misery and emotional damage?
That's the question. Why would a supposedly benevolent source engineer years of heartbreak just to mold someone? It starts to feel less like spiritual guidance and, more like targeted psychological manipulation.
And his own psychic ability, his inherent gift, it only made things worse. It increased his fear and confusion.
Right. His prophetic dreams were highly accurate, but so disturbing. He'd foresee the deaths of pets, of relatives.
I read he even produced these shocking, precise details of public events like Governor Wallace's funeral.
Into the cloudy sky and the flag-draped casket. Yeah. And this just brought him profound fear and family disapproval. He started actively seeking religious answers, not to grow spiritually, but to shut down what he genuinely feared was an evil power manifesting through him.
He was desperately seeking a framework, any explanation that could contain all this strangeness.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is what led him to spiritualism.
Precisely. His move to Atlanta provided that structure. This is where the more, let's say, traditional spiritual encounters began. He sees the apparition of Aunt Jemima and then the fully materialized ghost of Miss Flowers.
And she was so clear, right? In a black skirt, pink silk blouse, her familiar pearls.
Just as he'd have remembered her. And Miss Flowers gives him a clear purpose, almost a contract.
Stay and help her godson, Ralph, finish his degree, and something Ted needed would be given to him. This led him straight to Marie Jackson and the National Spiritualists Association.
And he thrived there. He became a licensed medium, and for a while his belief felt validated. His guides seemed pure and benevolent.
It was the shield he needed.
It was a necessary psychological shield, at least until he moved to Shreveport.
Right. And there, he met friends who were deep into the whole benevolent extraterrestrial discussion.
And suddenly, Ted's own non-human experiences intensified dramatically. They went from these comforting spiritual encounters to something, well, high strangeness and physically intrusive.
And the change was terrifying. We're talking relentless, jarring nighttime visitations that were not peaceful astral travel. They were disruptive.
So disruptive, they led to severe anxiety, a crushing fear of the dark, and measurable physical deterioration.
His symptoms got so bad that they drove him to a psychiatric retreat, first in the 1970s and then again later on.
And his anger is a really critical detail here. This wasn't passive acceptance, this was rage.
He was fighting back.
Oh, yeah. He would shout and curse at the unseen intruders, demanding to know how they expected him to do his spiritual work when they won't let me rest. He was fighting back against what he saw as the tyranny of his own guides.
That fighting back is what leads to that direct mechanical monitoring encounter. Can you describe this fear? Because this is like textbook non-human surveillance.
It is. He encounters a round, basketball-sized sphere of red and orange light, and it enters his room directly through the wall.
Through the wall.
A mechanical voice demands he stop moving, and then he experiences this instantaneous download. He said it felt exactly as if someone had pushed the enter button on a computer to store pages of information right into his brain.
And the information itself was crucial. It revealed the sphere was a scanner, and it was being controlled from a UFO that the occupants called their life support vehicle.
But what's fascinating here is the immediate cognitive shield that his friends put up.
Right.
They were so entrenched in that benevolent narrative. Ted was terrified, confused, recognizing this mechanical intrusion as something highly advanced and potentially, malevolent.
But his friends immediately countered his fear. They argued he was privileged.
Privileged and ridiculous to think of the device as anything other than positive. The mask of goodness was now being maintained by the community around him, not just the guides themselves.
And this cognitive dissonance is just stretched to its absolute limit with the introduction of Volmo.
Oh, Volmo.
If the surveillance device was alarming, Volmo is described in detail as truly monstrous, yet he's presented as benevolent.
The physical description of Volmo, this new non-human spirit guide who appeared shortly after the scanner incident, is unforgettable.
He was huge.
Huge. 6.5 to 7 feet tall, dark-colored, hairless, with bony ridges, yellow gold eyes that lacked eyelids, and a big fish mouth with sharp teeth.
Okay, wait. A creature that tall, hairless, with sharp teeth, and yellow lidless eyes appears in your bedroom. And the spiritualist community insists this is just a highly developed, good guide.
Right.
How could anyone square that terrifying visual with benevolence?
Well, that is the essential insight into the level of deception at play here. Marie's guide quickly interpreted Volmo as a highly developed interplanetary spirit who is just lost on Earth.
I'll worry about it.
They maintain the insistence that Ted must not fear him. This shows the absolute necessity of maintaining the illusion of purity within that framework, no matter how disturbing the facts on the ground were. Ted realized if he wanted the truth, he had to leave the philosophy behind and seek objective answers.
And that takes us to the climactic shift in his research. He recognized that his intense anxiety and crippling sleep deprivation, they weren't just stress. They were classic symptoms of repressed traumatic events.
So he sought out the experts.
The ones who dealt with the physical reality of these non-human encounters.
He connected with the groundbreaking abduction researcher Dr. Carla Turner, who was instrumental in documenting the non-benevolent side of this phenomenon, and the very experienced hypnotist Barbara Bartholic.
And their goal was simple.
Get beneath the layers of deception.
And the first layer they hit was a sophisticated one. Screen memory. We should probably slow down here and define this because it's so central to Ted's entire experience.
Definitely. Screen memory is essentially a false, often benign or reassuring memory that's placed in the consciousness of the abductee to cover up the true traumatic experience.
So it's a cover story.
Exactly. It's a psychological defense mechanism, but in this context, it is deliberately manufactured by the intruders.
And the screen memory Ted first produced while semi-conscious was this Carly Kane story. It's a completely fictional fantasy with running rabbits, a visit to a calm paradise of animals, singing children in blue coveralls.
It's comforting, domestic, and utterly fake.
But under regression, the true reality began to surface.
Mm.
Ted was abducted as a child by chalky white or gray beings. He was placed on a tilting table, subjected to painful noise from headphone-like devices, and then he witnessed something incredibly specialized.
His soul mass.
His soul mass actually rising from his body.
The idea of a soul having physical mass that can be observed or manipulated is, that's disturbing on its own.
And he watched this mass being gently washed. What was the purpose of this incredibly invasive specialized procedure?
The terror only amplified as the procedure ended. He then saw a body, identical to his own, rolled out of a container in what looked like a locker area.
A clone.
And a blonde man stepped in and explained that the switching out procedure was done periodically for his purpose here. The definitive, shattering revelation for Ted was that he was part of an experiment. His identity was synthetic, engineered, and he was not produced naturally in his mother.
That is the ultimate violation of self. The realization that your entire existence, which you thought was shaped by spiritual destiny, was actually a controlled scientific experiment involving cloning and identity manipulation.
It's devastating.
But the deepest, most difficult truth involved his grandmother, Grandy.
Grandy was always this loving figure, and Ted had only ever interpreted her experience as a simple spiritual visitation during his childhood.
But the regression revealed the horrifying core of that memory.
During that visitation, beings, including a highly disturbing reptilian man with greenish skin, disguised themselves as Grandy's dead husband.
And forced sexual activity upon her.
That shift from a benevolent visitation to forced trauma under the guise of a loved one, it just perfectly illustrates the deception at work.
It confirms the malevolent, intrusive nature, the psychological warfare involved.
And Grandy's courage, revealed in this traumatic memory, is what saved Ted. When the beings tried to take his soul mass during that childhood visitation, Grandy intervened.
What did she do?
She shouted the only defense she knew. "In the name of Jesus Christ, I demand that you stop."
It worked.
The reptilian man immediately broke the illusion and threatened her death.
This memory breakthrough, it wasn't unique to Ted, which is what gives it so much credibility within the wider abduction research community.
Exactly. The sources mention other abductees having similar Christ-to-reptilian transformations, like the man named Al, whose vision of Jesus suddenly turned into a reptilian sexual assault.
So the mechanism is clear. Create an illusion of benevolence, like the initial medical information exchange screen memory given to Grandy to mask the reality of trauma and control.
And when Ted fully processed this, his life's philosophical foundation just imploded. He realized that all his traditional religious and metaphysical beliefs, the spiritualism he had built his entire professional life on, they were gone with the wind. The sophisticated illusion was no longer sustainable.
So after losing his entire reality system, what did Ted Rice conclude was the ultimate defense against this level of, highly advanced manipulation?
That was simple. Knowledge. These non-human forces rely on screen memories and pervasive deception to maintain control and secrecy. The only real weapon against them is the truth, discovering what is beneath the sophisticated layers of lies.
And that realization redefined his entire purpose. He actively rejected the idea of writing a book called The Light Worker.
Yeah, he understood that the title itself just played right into the alien's narrative of benevolence and comfort.
Instead, he committed to writing a book that reflected the traumatic, raw, essential truth he had just uncovered. He chose honesty over comfort.
Ted Rice's journey is one of the most powerful examples we have of an individual consciously breaking through a comprehensive system of control.
The fact that his entire life, even down to his dreams, was engineered for a purpose here leaves us with one of the most provocative questions in all of high strangeness research.
It really does. If these highly sophisticated non-human forces are capable of such profound, long-term manipulation orchestrating key life events, manufacturing elaborate screen memories, and even executing traumatic acts like cloning, soul manipulation, and identity switching, what does this fundamentally imply about the hidden nature of the reality we all share?
What else is a mask?
What other foundational beliefs, whether they're personal or universal, might be built on equally powerful, elaborate, and deeply entrenched illusions? That is the rabbit hole we leave you to explore this week.